A question I'm often asked is, how many listings did you have within your Etsy store when you began to see sales? I started my Etsy store in late 2022, and currently my store is sitting just over 800 total listings, and I've generated nearly $50,000 in revenue to date. And there are 3 strategies that got me to this point from what I implemented in the beginning stages of my Etsy store. My name is Taylor, and my channel is focused on all things Etsy and print on demand. If those are 2 things that interest you, I hope that you will boop that subscribe button down below and follow me in my journey to becoming a 6-figure Etsy seller. I recently shared a graph with you guys in my community tab, and I was comparing the number of listings to the revenue that I had from the time that I started my Etsy store to date. And if we look at that graph, what we can see is the number of listings versus the revenue that I brought in within my Etsy store. And as you can see, it does seem to have a direct correlation. The more listings that I added to my Etsy store, the more my revenue went up. However, I don't feel that the number of listings is as important as one may think when it comes to getting sales and generating revenue within an Etsy and print on demand business. In fact, I think that creating an Etsy listing and having success on Etsy is very similar to baking cookies. If anybody has ever baked cookies before, you know that it is incredibly important to have the right ingredients at the right temperature, at the right measurement, and if anything is off slightly, it will completely change the results of your cookie. And so the reason that I compare that to listing and having success on Etsy is because there are so many factors that go into having a listing get sales and become a bestseller. Just adding a high volume of listings to your store on Etsy simply isn't enough in order to generate sales. And I often see the advice being given to create a lot of listings. However, we aren't always hearing the recommendations for what those listings should look like and the specifics behind those listings that make them great and ultimately earn sales. Take this shop, for example. They have generated over 24,000 sales in their store. And if we scroll down to see how long that they've been open, we can see that they've been on Etsy since 2022. And so they have generated that many sales in less than 2 years time frame. And in total, this store only has 573 listings. And if we want to see how well this store is truly performing, I can go ahead and look at the product analytics. Now, this is using my Everbee Chrome extension. This is one of my favorite tools to doing research on Etsy and finding more specific information about an Etsy store or specific listings that are doing really well. So what I'm going to look at here, I'm going to click this Analyze All Listings for this store. And what we can see is the monthly sales for some of their top selling items, as well as an estimated monthly revenue as well. And as you can see, this store is doing really well. This shop is another really great example of what I mean when listing number isn't necessarily the most important thing. So this shop, they have over 340,000 sales. And if we scroll down, they only have 165 listings, which is hardly anything. They are strictly just an ornament shop. I love seeing shops that are selling something different, something other than apparel. While you can have success in apparel, I think it's really great to explore different product types. And if we scroll down on this shop as well, just to see how long that they have been open, what we can do, we can see that they updated their shop policies in 2019. However, we can also look at their oldest review, and their oldest review is from October of 2019. So we could see that information right there to get an idea of how long they have been selling on Etsy. And to take a look at this shop and their analytics as well, I'm going to, again, click Analyze All Listings so that I can see the stats on them. And looking again at their monthly sales, just this ornament alone is generating them over $15,000 in monthly revenue. So as we can see, there are stores that do exist on Etsy that don't have a ton of listings, but are still seeing sales. And success leaves clues. That is a phrase that I've heard passed around over and over again. And it is so true. When we look at stores like this, we can take a deeper dive into listings that they have and see what is working for them. So looking at these two successful shops, it really brings me to my point, and that is that the number of listings isn't as important as having quality listings. And so we're gonna dive into my 3 listing strategies that help to create quality listings that will gain sales and ultimately scale your Etsy shop. My number 1 strategy is to do your research. It is important to research your niche that you are looking to create a product for and really ensure that there is demand for that niche. If there's nobody searching for your item is never going to get sales. It is never going to be found because people just aren't looking for it. They don't want it. I did just release my niche calendar, which can be found in the description below. It has niches within it that you can start listing for today, and it goes all the way into January of 2025. And something that I've incorporated within my niche calendar for all of the niches that I share the search volume versus the competition for that specific niche. And so I tried to share as many niches as I possibly could that had a higher search volume and lower competition so that you can find success on Etsy. So in general, how I like to go and start doing my research for what niche I am looking to sell in, I like to start by jumping onto Etsy and just looking at some different listings. So one of the niches that I share in my niche calendar is the sports niche. And there are so many specifics within the sports niche that you can tap into. And I go into more specifics within my niche calendar. However, if we think of what is to come in the next few weeks and months, I am immediately thinking of football. So what I'm going to do is on Etsy, I am going to search for football. And what's really great about having the Everbee Chrome extension is we can start to see the search volume for some of the that Cha-Ching was a paid actress. Just kidding. So what we can see when I just first start by typing in the word football, I can see, of course, what Etsy populates. These are really great ways to do research without a research tool. Etsy is going to populate what has been more commonly searched, and we can back that data up though, however, with our Everbee Chrome extension. And so what I'm looking at is the monthly searches for these different search terms. I am going to go ahead and just start by clicking football shirt. That one had pretty high search volume. After I've searched for that, I'm going to go ahead and click all filters and click star seller, apply, and actually up at the top of my browser, I'm going to go in and erase the word star and change it to best. And this is just a little hack for finding the best sellers currently on Etsy. There used to be a filter to go to best sellers. They got rid of the filter. Maybe it will come back. Maybe it's back already by the time you're watching this video. However, this is what works for me right now. And so as I am looking through, generally I'm going to not really pay that close attention to this first row right here because these are all ads. However, if I scroll down, I can see this shirt right here. This is a current bestseller, and this is a customizable football shirt. What I like to do with Everbee is click Analyze Listing. This shirt is generating 150 monthly sales with over $2,600 in monthly revenue. And we can also see the total sales that this shirt has acquired, as well as the listing age, and some other information such as the reviews, views, favorites, and reviews per month. So clearly this listing is doing really well, and so I can gain inspiration and get some ideas from this listing so that I could create my own unique item in this specific niche. Another really great thing about Everbee is I can actually see all of the tags that are being utilized within this listing. It is important though, I see a lot of times people will just copy and paste. We still want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and making sure that this seller isn't using any type of trademarked phrases. For example, with this and with the sports football niche in general, we want to avoid using any type of keywords or phrases that are related to the NFL. We would not want to incorporate this NFL shirts tag because that is something that would ultimately risk your listing getting taken down and closing your Etsy store permanently. A really great way that I always recommend to stand out on Etsy is by offering personalization, which this listing has done. They offer where you can add in the number as well as a last name. So this would be great for targeting maybe a football mom or football dad for them to be able to represent their child when they're going to games. So going back to the main results and scrolling through. So here's another really great example with a t-shirt that is a bestseller. This one offers the customization of having a team name and your name on the back, as well as personalizing the number. And again, analyzing this listing, we can see that this listing doesn't have quite as many sales. However, its estimated monthly sales are 26 with almost $600 in monthly revenue. And this listing is only 5 months old. So comparatively to the other listing that was almost a year old, this is something that could be brought into more than just football. This could probably be a shirt that is listed for many different types of sports and can go into different sub niches as well. So just looking at these two listings, I would continue this practice and continuously analyze other listings on Etsy within the niche that I'm looking to target, just to gain validation that that is a niche that has demand and gets sales, which from just looking at these two listings, I can see that the sports niche, specifically the football niche and maybe even the football mom niche, is something that I could create an item for and ultimately get sales volume. Now, the other important thing to take a look at when we are on Etsy and doing our research is what are others that have successful listings incorporating within their listings. So for example, with the two shirts that we took a look at for the football niche, those both offered personalization. So if others within that niche are offering personalization, I am going to most likely want to incorporate personalization to some degree as well, so that I can compete against others within that niche. A really great tip would be if you find a niche that is in demand and has bestsellers within it, and they aren't offering any type of personalization yet in that niche, you could be the first person to bring personalization to that niche and stand out from the competition. My second listing strategy is that we need to create quality listings. And so, as I mentioned earlier, success leaves clues. So jumping back to those stores that we took a look at earlier that had really great sales volume, what we can do is take a look into some of their listings. It's important to take a look at what they are doing within their listing. What types of photos are they using within their listing? What are they using in their title? And then of course we can use Everbee to analyze the tags as well on the listing. So for example, as I'm clicking through the pictures on this listing, we can see that they use a lifestyle or hanging mock-up for every single listing photo, which I think is a really great best practice. I don't recommend using any type of stock mock-up that might come from your print provider. Any type of mock-up with a plain white background just generally doesn't appeal as much to customers on Etsy, and it's not something that often leads to success or sales on a listing. So taking a look at another listing from this same shop, we can see the same thing again. They have this shirt, which is a bestseller. I always love seeing bestsellers that have just these super simple designs. Simple really does sell. When we overthink and we add too many elements into our design, they end up just looking cluttered and it feels like too much. and often don't sell. So remember that when designing, simple sells. And again, they have really great lifestyle mock-ups for this item. And then they also have this final info card within their listing that talks about the different color options as well as the size chart. I typically recommend to anybody that I've done coaching with to create custom info cards for their shop, as that is something that just stands out. And I think that having anything that differentiates you from others is really beneficial. So I like that they have this custom info card for their shop with their shop name, as well as it looks different than just maybe a standard size and color chart that you might purchase on Etsy. Jumping back to the other shop that we looked at, the ornament shop, looking at their listings, they have really great thumbnail images, and hovering over it looks like they also incorporate a video as well, which can be done with print on demand. There are video mock-ups that you can utilize within your listing to add that feature to your listing photos. And if we click into this listing, for example, same thing, looking through their pictures, again, they have that video. We can see that they also give some information on one of their photos as well, which I really like, especially with personalization. Being able to explain to the customer what they're able to do with the personalization that they offer, which is what they've done here. They've highlighted what cannot be personalized, what can be personalized. So I think that's really great, as well as they've incorporated some info like their item will ship next day, as well as it incorporates a free gift box. So just explaining to the customer what to expect. Again, this is just a type of info card that they incorporate. And so info cards are anything that you create for your listing photos that provide info to your customer. And so I always recommend creating info cards that will explain on anything that you feel your customer may have questions on. A very common type of info card that I see in successful listings is a shop policy card. So something that looks like this. Creating individualized info cards that match the overall brand and shop theme that you have can give your shop a more cohesive look, and overall will just appeal to be more professional to a potential customer. So how they're adding, again, things that they are not able to do on this info card so that a customer potentially isn't reaching out, messaging them, asking. They're able to get that info right here in their listing. And again, just analyzing this listing, I love to see this information. Its estimated monthly revenue is $4,635, which is absolutely crazy. And over time, you can see that this ornament specifically has had over 10,000 sales. It is very popular. Another thing that I want to point out as a best practice to a quality listing is that this store is using as much of that title space as they can. Your title is so critical to your SEO, and we want to make sure that we are using up as much real estate within that title as possible, using as many characters as possible, as long as it still makes sense. Another thing that they are doing is they are using all 13 tags. So making sure that we are, again, using up all of our title, all of our tags. This is going to just aid our listing in getting in front of more people, ranking for more search terms, and ultimately getting more sales. My third listing strategy is to be consistent. It generally can take 30 days minimum for Etsy to truly rank your item in search. And so that is why it is important to be consistent in listing new products within your store. That doesn't mean to just focus on the quantity and rush to put listings in your store. However, listing a few items throughout the week, daily if you're able to, can be beneficial in seeing success long term. If we are continuously adding new quality listings to our store, then as those listings are aging, those listings are starting to rank, and then we're able to get more consistent sales. I also recommend this consistency for you to gain the experience. Just like when you start any job for the first time, you're not great at it. And so those early listings that you work on and create, while you might watch videos like this and others online to learn how to create quality listings, they still might not be the best when you first begin. And so listing new items is going to gain you that experience that is going to help you improve and grow over time. So to sum it up, the three main listing strategies and factors that I feel are important in creating successful listings on Etsy is to first do your research, validate your niche or niches that you're looking to get into, create quality listings with great mock-up photos, create info cards that your customer might need in order to understand what they're purchasing. Be sure to create titles that incorporate all 140 characters and utilize all 13 tags within your listings as well. And keep repeating these steps for consistency so that you can continue to grow and improve within your Etsy shop over time. When doing your research, I highly recommend using some type of research tool. I do have a link in the description box for Everbee if that's something that you are interested in trying. And if you are interested, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I do have my brand new niche calendar available as well. If you were interested, I do offer written, recorded, and live one-on-one coaching opportunities where we can work together to create a roadmap and a game plan for success in your Etsy shop as well. I hope this video provided you value in the importance of quality listings and how you can list successfully in your Etsy shop. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you in the next one.